are the Tar Heels of North Carolina. And today they take their first step towards Seattle in the Final Four. Some have traveled this path before. Seniors Matt Doherty and Sam Perkins, remember. So does junior guard Michael Jordan. There were 17 seconds on the clock when then freshman Michael Jordan hit the jump shot that sealed Georgetown's fate and the first ever national championship for Dean Smith. Today, CBS Sports presents the NCAA Basketball Championship. Second round coverage of the East Region, live from Charlotte, North Carolina. It's the Tar Heels of North Carolina and the Temple Owls. Temple, the Atlantic 10 champion, thought their chance to play the #1 ranked Tar Heels was finished in Thursday's first round action as St. John's All-American Chris Mullins stood at the line with 8 seconds remaining in a tied game. But it was not to be, and Temple coach John Chaney would have one last chance, a chance that senior forward Terrence Stansbury would convert from 27 feet, sending the jubilant Owls on to play Carolina and the heartbroken Redmond fans home to consider a season of almost. The emotion of the NCAA Basketball Championship as we go down the road to Seattle and the Final Four. North Carolina, top ranked all year long, and Temple, they're not too impressed with this North Carolina team. They don't stand at all. They feel they have their own outstanding tradition. Two teams, interestingly enough, that went unbeaten in their respective conferences. North Carolina, for the first team since 1974, went through the ACC unbeaten, and Temple likewise in the Atlantic 10 Conference. But Billy Packer, even though North Carolina has the #1...
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Charlotte Coliseum for today's NCAA Region 2 second round game between the Owls of Temple University and the Tar Heels of the University of North Carolina. And now let's meet the starting lineups. For Temple University at forward, a 6'5" senior from Wilmington, Delaware, number 43, Terrence Stansbury. For North Carolina at forward, a 6'8" senior from East Meadow, New York, number 44, Matt Doherty. For Temple at forward, a 6'8" junior from Clayton, New Jersey, number 30, Granger Hall. For UNC at forward, a 6'10" senior from Latham, New York, number 41, Sam Perkins. For Temple at center, a 6'9" senior from Port of Spain, Trinidad, number 24, Colin McNish. For North Carolina at center, a 6'11" sophomore from Black Mountain, North Carolina, number 42, Brad Doherty. For Temple at guard, a 6'3" sophomore from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, number 4, Ed Coe. For North Carolina at guard, a 6'2" freshman from Queens, New York, number 30, Kenny Smith. For Temple at guard, a 6'4" senior from Collingdale, Pennsylvania, number 15, Jim McLaughlin. And for North Carolina at guard, a 6'5" junior from Wilmington, North Carolina, number 23, Michael Jordan. And introducing the head coaches for Temple University in his second season, John Chaney. For North Carolina in his 23rd season, Dean Smith.
And now the officials for today's game from the Big Ten will be Phil Robinson from the Southern Conference, Jim Howell, and Jimmy Burr from the ECAC. We're going to be back now with a tip-off to start this second round game in the East Region in just a moment. Two record, Temple 26-4. Colin McNish going up against Sam Perkins, and it's off to Brad Doherty of Carolina, the top-ranked team in the country. Dean Smith, who has been to the Final Four 7 times and trying to win his second NCAA championship in 3 years, intended for Brad Doherty, and that will turn it over to Temple.
A play that North Carolina likes to use an awful lot, Gary. They set a screen in the back guy against the zone and then throw the lob across court. Didn't work that time, wasn't even close.
The Temple Owls, that outstanding victory in the first round. This is the man that hit the shot, Terrence Stansbury, that sent him into the second round of play. He's the Atlantic 10 Conference Player of the Year. Broken up beautifully that time. Here comes Kenny Smith with a bandaged left hand. Matt Doherty
You can see that Kenny Smith forces the action down court quickly for North Carolina. A much different tempo than they play when they have Steve Hale in the game.
Matt Doherty, who's coming off of 2 20-point games for the Tar Heels, gets North Carolina on the scoreboard. Stansbury, the senior, following was Granger Hall, and Matt Doherty has a rebound.
He had an easy shot there. North Carolina really pushing the ball down the court quickly. This is important, Gary, particularly for the opening game you play in the NCAA tournament, that you don't play passively. And that's what Kenny Smith helps North Carolina do. They get moving in a hurry.
Smith, he may have overpassed it there, but he does retrieve it, and then coming up with is Jim McLaughlin.
There's a case where that left hand wasn't as quick as it normally would be.
It's a little bit better, but it's heavily wrapped. Here's Granger Hall, who had 20 points in the victory Thursday night. Rebound by Sam Perkins, a 3-time All-American.
Michael Jordan with the ball in his hands for the first time.
Michael Jordan.
North Carolina really aggressively taking the ball at the Temple zone, which is one of the best zones in the United States.
Temple against St. John's got off to a very fast start. Right now, though, North Carolina's gotten off to the good start, leading 4-0. And a traveling call. So Temple a little shaky in the early going.
Granger Hall trying to go. Now, he's limping on that knee, Gary, and there's nobody in the country's got a knee that's taped up or wrapped any more than Granger Hall's. He's made a tremendous comeback as a ball player, but he's wincing quite a bit right now.
He is. Well, actually, he's holding his ankle.
Yeah.
Granger Hall has a $450 knee brace and 3 types of tape that they wrap that knee with. He's just been a remarkable comeback. There's Jordan.
No defense against that, even though Eddie Coe's an excellent leaper. Jordan just goes up to whatever height he needs.
Carolina with a 6-0 lead. They've hit 3 of 4 shots. Temple is 0 for 4 thus far from the field.
Notice how North Carolina forces a man to the baseline, contrary to what's been the common practice in basketball for many years.
Here is Coe. He kicks it out to McNish. They're 0 for 5 from the field.
You better stop Jordan on that dribble. That's a turnover. Yep.
Double dribble the ball. Jordan, college basketball's player of the year, and that's 3 turnovers against the Tar Heels, even though they're leading 6-0.
But Dean Smith has got to like the tempo, Gary, because they are moving the ball aggressively down the court, and you're eventually going to turn it over. That's not a big turnover team, but they want to establish a quick tempo here.
Kenny Smith, the freshman from Queens, New York, against Stansbury.
Here comes the trap for the first time. It always looks like there are a lot of people open. They've got basically 4 men on the ball, people open under the basket.
McLaughlin, who has been an outstanding performer in his senior year. Hall rejected that time.
Great play.
He comes back.
Super play by Hall.
He has been the big turnaround on this team. Out last year, that knee injury. He's come on this year to win all conference honors.
That's a case of guy bouncing up twice on the miss and a quick leaper.
They needed that basket. They're on the scoreboard for the first time, trailing 6-2.
Obviously no clock in college basketball, so when you get it down and don't get the transition game going, you can afford to work it for the good shot.
Michael Jordan. Hall had screened out very well, and he comes up with the rebound, and Brad Doherty commits the foul. Granger Hall, a junior out of Clayton, New Mexico, or I should say Clayton, New Jersey, and he is the guy that no one thought would play at all. He missed the first game in a starting role. He started every one since, and you saw how effective he can be on the board.
You see Michael Jordan going out of the game, Steve Hale into the ball game is something that happens often for North Carolina. I think Michael just gets that mental exhaustion, you know, right at the start of the game. Obviously not physically tired, but he just hyperventilates a little bit, it looks like.
And Hale has played so well, starting 10 games for North Carolina when Smith was out of there. Broken up again. Carolina playing some tough defense inside.
One of the things I noticed at the start of the show is that the listing of the heights of the 2 teams. North Carolina fellas are listed a lot smaller than they probably are. Temple just the opposite. They list McLaughlin at 6'4". He looks more like about 6'2.5".
Stansbury, and that's his shot. He loves to shoot it from the wing area, and all of a sudden now it's a 2-point game. Here is Hale, the junior sophomore out of Jinx, Oklahoma. Doherty.
Perkins hasn't gotten loose at all, even for an offensive attempt. Hadn't touched the ball.
Oh, Smith thought a man was in the wing area and no one was there.
You know what it was? Remember the Georgetown game? He had a mental picture of somebody over there and a light-shirted official and just threw the ball towards the light shirt.
Stansbury now trying to tie this one up on this trip down to the floor. Well, he wants the ball, doesn't he? A little difficult shot, though, and Perkins is there with the rebound. The all-time leading rebounder for North Carolina.
Kenny Smith using the left hand that time.
McLaughlin to Coe, who's out of Winston-Salem. And that's going to be a charge.
How about the basket? No basket. I thought he got the shot off.
sophomore from here in North Carolina, with the charging foul.
You know Coe's going to take it to the basket, but you also know if you scout North Carolina that Hale is a guy that will never try to block the shot, but will sit back there in for position. It's a hairline call. I thought the ball was out of his hands.
Instead, no basket. North Carolina still with a 6-4 lead. Dean Smith in his 23rd year as the coach of the Tar Heels.
Gary, that's better than blocking the shot if you get the charge, because you pick up the foul, you get the ball back, and you negate the shot, obviously.
Hale to Perkins. Bam back again, and a foul. Let's see if it's before the shot.
Will be. It will be. But again, North Carolina lobbing over the top of the zone. Sam Perkins, that's the first time he's touched the ball in the offensive end. You'll see it right here. Lob right against the top of the zone. Sam Perkins kind of surprised. He was so open there. Missed the shot, gets it back, but gets fouled.
McNish committing the foul, his first. Hale will coach his son, and he plays the game just like a coach on the floor. Perkins. Jordan follows. And McNish has it, and it's ripped down by Granger Hall. Hall is really a force inside.
Great hands.
And so again, Temple can tie this ball game up. After North Carolina jumped to a 6-0 lead, it's 6-4.
Michael Jordan, a very much underrated defensive player. Everybody knows about his stats offensively, but he can really hound a man defensively.
Rockland, they call him the gambler. He's always forcing the issue. He's missed a couple of shots, though. Matt Doherty has it.
Now Hale pushing the ball up the court pretty rapidly.
14:44 to go in the first half. Jordan with one of those suspended, patented moves.
It's amazing that he goes inside and it almost doesn't care what the defense does because he'll create a shot.
He has 6 of Carolina's 8 points. Boy, Temple is only 2 of 12 shooting from the field right now, and yet they're only trailing by 4.
And they're getting pretty good shots.
There's a nice pass by Coe. And Granger Hall put it away. Hall with 4 points.
Most teams don't beat the trap as well as Coe did there against North Carolina.
Hale, the left-hand toss. Rebound by McNish, who's a native of Trinidad, and he went to high school in Delaware. Same high school that Stansbury is from, and Stansbury will hit that all afternoon long.
Down on it. Stansbury likes the jump shot. He's got good range and doesn't mind putting it up.
McNish getting up slowly after that play, but he's okay. We're tied at 8. 13:58 to go in this second round game in the East region.
Give me a light.
9%, but they're going to increase their percentage if they have plays like this.
Well, what you're going to see, North Carolina runs the trap very well, probably better than any team in the country. And normally when they get a man in that position, he can't get between the 2 players. If he does, North Carolina's at a big disadvantage, obviously, because you've got a 2-on-1 situation of defense, and somebody has to be open on the weak side, and that's exactly what happened on that play.
Well, Temple started out very shaky. They were trailing 6-0, but now John Chaney, in his second year as the coach of the Owls, has his team all even with the top-ranked team in the country, 8 apiece.
Now McNish out of the ball game, so the Temple zone gets quite a bit smaller here.
The guy that they're bringing in is Charles Rain, number 34, a 6'5" junior. He's in the paint defensively.
Sam Perkins on the bench with Wolf on in there, so North Carolina doesn't lose any of their size.
Now Hall is back, and Jordan is fouled by him. Granger went up. They're both there simultaneously.
John Chaney really irate over that. He's saying, hey, they both went for the ball. And in basketball, just like in football, everybody has an equal opportunity to go to the basketball, not just the offensive player.
Now Chaney was warned to sit down, to back off a little bit. He's working the officials pretty good.
Well, what he's trying to do, when you go up against a Dean Smith, what you try to make sure is that he hadn't intimidated the officials at the outset. So a pretty good move by John Chaney. He wants to make them aware that he's coaching on the bench, and hey, he has coached the national championship team.
Here is Wolf, who's just checked into the ball game. Joe Wolf, the freshman.
Not a good pass.
McLaughlin comes up with it. That is 5 turnovers against Dean Smith's Carolina team. 8 all, 13:30 to go in the first half.
Great man-to-man now by North Carolina. Very seldom do you see him play straight man-to-man. They're usually trapping and double teaming. Right there you see it.
Rain, who just checked into the ball game, and followed by Stansbury, ripped down instead by Jordan. Matt Doherty,
he can make that
underrated to Brad. Brad is playing with his 2 middle fingers taped together. He pulled a tendon in the palm of his hand. It's much better looking than it was a week ago.
Yeah, and that really doesn't bother you too much for the simple reason you'd have those fingers together when you're shooting anyway. Last week he had a big taping over the entire hand, and that bothered his shooting considerably.
Dean Smith is going to bring in at the first opportunity Dave Popson, yet another freshman. He's going to make some mass substitutions.
Now that's part of the Smith system always, Gary. He substitutes considerably in the first half, very seldom in the second half.
McLaughlin is trapped. Baseline, and Matt Doherty's there.
Michael Jordan on the loose.
What a role player Matt Doherty is. Michael Jordan off to Hale, wide open. Steve Hale, since being a starter, has done everything so very well, but the one stat they're most proud of, in those 10 games, Billy only turned the ball over around 20 times. He's protected it well in the absence of Kenny Smith.
Here comes the double team trap. Michael Jordan coming down.
Foul on Jordan.
I didn't like that call. I'll tell you why. The official made the call, was on the other side of the court, didn't have an angle to see whether or not Michael Jordan got the ball or the hand.
Billy, let's look ahead. What we're going to have here on CBS for the Mideast region. Kentucky will go against BYU, Liddell Anderson's team, who defeated UAB. Houston, Louisiana Tech. Karl Malone had a great game that first round.
I'd love to see the action under the boards because Karl Malone believes he can go up against anybody physically on the inside. We saw him at the World University games, and Akeem Olajuwon hadn't played against many guys that physical.
And we had Dayton against LSU, and they've earned the right to meet Oklahoma and Wayman Tisdale.
Now North Carolina goes in the zone. Long shot.
McLaughlin missing that long shot that you were talking about. And here comes Smith. Look at Smith's left hand. It's heavily wrapped. It's close to the thumb here, and you know how tough it is to do anything without that thumb. And he has been able to improve that. He hurt it on January 29th in the game against LSU, a collision with John Tudor. Here's Kenny. Matt Doherty.
Perkins has been silent, but he can step outside that zone and take the jump shot and be inside and get the lob.
Perkins having the finest year he's had in his senior year, and we're going to have a foul.
On whom?
Stansbury, I believe, isn't it? Let's see, the unfile. No, they're going to call it on Sam Perkins.
These fellas are having an interesting game here.
Let me ask you, Billy, you have three officials who have not worked together all year long from three different conferences. That has to make it difficult.
Very difficult. They get judged as individuals in the opening rounds, and then they move forward as teams in regard to the eyes of the guys that judge the officials. So far today, on the part of both sides, have been some interesting calls.
There's Popson, and that'll be off of Dave Popson. Shooting percentages, Temple shooting only 24%, as an end result trailing by 46% for North Carolina.
You see Blackwell's ankle had been taped up right after the workouts today. Good double team.
McLaughlin touch pass, and that will be a foul, a basket, and I will tell you, Rain hurt himself. When he slammed the ball, he may have hit his head on the rim.
That was a great touch pass by McLaughlin, and that's what you want to do. Here's the double team by North Carolina. Great touch pass, and you can see North Carolina has nobody over on that side. Popson gets there a little late. Might have hit him with his elbow, too.
I think he was hit by the North Carolina player. I thought at first he might have hit his chin on the rim, or at least his cheek. The Rain gets the basket. The foul will go on Popson, his first. And here comes Michael Jordan. Jordan, the player of the year. This is junior year.
Gary, you notice that North Carolina has not had their starting lineup in the game with the exception of about 2 minutes. And they've been substituting all different kinds of combinations throughout this first half, which is commonplace for Dean Smith.
Now Rain goes to the free throw line, a chance for the three-point play. First free throws of the game, too.
And Temple plays with nobody down on the line.
So that 4-point lead has been cut to 1.
And they go back in a zone trap, half court. 1-3-1 half court zone trap. Hale shouldn't have picked up his dribble.
That's what Perkins can do so well. He can bail you out. He can go up with those long arms.
Exactly. Hale got bailed out by picking up the dribble. Sam Perkins went to the moon to catch the ball.
Here's Jordan. What a move.
He'd been going to his left all the time, just circled back with that turnaround.
When Smith was out of there, those 10 games, he had 9 20-point games, Bill. He just kind of took on the responsibility.
Yeah, I really believe Michael Jordan could be a major scorer in college basketball if he wanted to. Count on it.
Count on that shot. That's exactly right. Stansbury. It's a 1-point game again.
Well, one of the things that really is good for Temple playing against the North Carolina, they've got so many guys that can hit that shot from the weak side. So when North Carolina traps, if Temple beats the trap, they've got to score. Good steal.
Stansbury. Oh! And it's a lead for Temple.
And the trap causing some problems for North Carolina. With Stansbury out there with good size, it's tough for a wingman to go ahead and do it. There's a charge.
And that'll be a charge on Rain, and Hale is hurt. Hale really hit hard. He's getting up now. His daddy, Jerry Hale, a coach at Oral Roberts for some time, and he was a guy that they didn't know how much playing time he'd get. Then when Smith got hurt, he was the man. 15-14. Temple with the lead. 9 minutes, 56 seconds to go in the first half.
Without blocking the shot, without making a steal, but by drawing the charge. A very heady play on his part because Temple had a nice breakaway opportunity right there.
Should point out in that first round game that Temple about this stage of the first half against St. John's came out with the same kind of pressure and really bothered St. John's.
Well, what you see right now, McLaughlin is playing all the way back on the 1-3-1, which makes them awful weak under the basket. Good hit shot by Kenny Smith, but they've got so much size up in the front that it's hard to throw the ball over the press.
Carolina back on top by 1. Kenny Smith, shooting hand certainly not affected by that left hand at all. He dead centered that one.
Hale on Stansbury, trying to force him baseline.
Boy, he's fun to watch.
Well, North Carolina very seldom plays against a guy any better than a Stansbury who can take the ball on the baseline and shoot it, because that's where they want to force people defensively.
He already has 10 points, 10 of Temple's 17. The Owls with a 1-point lead.
They play that trap and defense super, and they have the personnel for it. As I said, Stansbury's out front. He's active, he's tall, he's got long arms, and he can jump. It's hard to throw the ball across court. Perkins has really been silent, Eric.
Well, that's kind of his game, but he'd like to touch the ball a little more, I think. Here's Hale again, and they're having an outside perimeter game. And here is coming up with the ball momentarily freshman Nate Blackwell. And Blackwell came over to us. He's in a little bit of pain. He hurt his foot. Number 3 hurt his foot in practice yesterday. They had him out in the parking lot today, jogging around, see if he could play. It's heavily taped, and I think it slowed him down a step or two on that last play.
Gary, I watched after the warm-ups, they went over and retaped him on the sideline. So obviously he's having some real discomfort in that ankle.
He's going to be an outstanding player at Temple. He was the Philadelphia Public League's Player of the Year last year. Philadelphia brand of basketball.
Surprised Perkins didn't take that jump shot.
Temple giving away some size, but they're keeping him out from being inside thus far.
Tough zone defense. Packed in, so well executed. Harry Litwack, the great Temple coach, was probably the master of the zone defense, and Temple's still playing it well, although he's still not there, except in spirit.
They cannot get that ball inside. Forward scoring, of course, 10 of those points are Stansbury. And North Carolina, on the other hand, that shows you the perimeter game that they've had thus far.
And what North Carolina's not been able to do offensively is get Sam Perkins in the game.
Kenny Smith, who hit one a moment ago. Rebound, Blackwell.
Nice job, because Michael Jordan was up there. Blackwell did a good job boxing out and getting position.
Blackman gets it into Granger Hall. Hall maneuvering on Doherty, blocked by Perkins. Granger Hall gets it after him. Perkins got him again.
Super job by Sam Perkins inside. He wants the ball, but they can't get it to him. And North Carolina can't throw it in the ocean. That should be no basket.
3 men up for North Carolina. Take your pick.
That should be no basket. That ball is on the rim. You got 3 men touching it.
We'll have to wait officially to see who's credited. They're going to give it to Matt Doherty, but they could have given it to 3 of them. 18-17, Carolina. Crowd starting to get into this now.
A big advantage for North Carolina there, obviously.
Doherty, he was intimidated by Stansbury, but Jordan was there.
Super job by Stansbury. Doherty saw him coming and knew he had to go for the dunk.
Michael Jordan with 10, Stansbury with 10. Those two are going after each other.
Good push-off by Stansbury.
And there's Rain with a follow tip at the 6:57 mark. Carolina's lead cut to 1.
Well, Stansbury's got some NBA moves with that push-off.
Jordan with the quickness against Blackwell. He just left him there, and Perkins is there.
That was not goaltending. Sam took that one about 2 feet above the rim.
22-19. This is a second round game in the East region. The winner to move on to Atlanta. They'll play the winner of Richmond and Indiana. The game to follow here in the Charlotte Coliseum.
North Carolina goes to their 1-3-1 zone with Sam Perkins running the baseline. A different concept than Temple's, although technically it's the same kind of zone that Temple had been playing.
Nate Blackwell. Perkins is there. Hitting the deck was Rain.
There's Kenny Smith, not able to catch the ball with the left hand. It was right on target. He just couldn't go after it.
Stansbury, quick pull-up jumper. He wasn't quite set on that one, and Rain is able to run it down. Rain has come in and done a very good job.
Yeah, he's a garbage rebounder.
Matt Doherty up in his face. And
nice
there is
job.
Brad Doherty tipping it to his teammate.
I think Temple getting a little tired right here. They could use a timeout.
And there's McLaughlin, the gambler they call him, and his gamble's paying off here.
Just as I said, Temple getting a little tired. Their big guys are both down under the basket, Rain and Hall, and they're looking for a breather.
North Carolina with 10 turnovers now, and with a 1-point lead.
Temple playing it 1-3-1, trapping out front. North Carolina very tentative on the outside with their jump shots, trying to go inside, which is their game.
Kenny Smith broken up by Stansbury, reached in on that Tate Tan
On
again.
the left hand, right. He tried to use his crossover dribble, and it wasn't there strong.
Stansbury will confer with John Chaney. Chaney, who had a Division II champion at Chaney State. Before moving on to Temple, he said, we've got our own basketball tradition. You realize we're the 9th winningest team in college basketball history. Stansbury.
Nice. You're looking at an NBA-type guard there, Gary. Using his body well. He can go over the top, and really, he's too much for Kenny Smith physically.
He has 12 points. They figure him to be one of the top 4 guards to be drafted this year. Backdoor short.
Left-handed. Left-handed.
Jordan with 12, Stansbury with 12.
We're looking at 2 great ones. We're looking at a number of outstanding players, but 2 great ones.
24-23, Carolina, 4.5 minutes left in the first half.
Carolina goes now to a 2-3 zone. They're changing a lot of things up. If this game were to go down the wire, Gary, don't be surprised to see the matchup you're looking at right now. Jordan against Stansbury later in the game, because that matchup is excellent.
They list Stansbury at 6'5". Jordan's a little over 6'6". That's Hall, didn't have much arch on the ball, and Perkins with another rebound. That's 8 already for Big Sam.
Nice job by Doherty getting a hand in Hall's face. Look at that
Kenny
zone.
Smith, see how he dribbles the ball, Billy? He doesn't come up right, does he?
He says he can't pound the ball down on the floor to get the good feel of it coming back up to him.
Brad Doherty using that 6'11" frame. 6 points for Brad. A 3-point lead for Carolina.
Notice North Carolina has been going with his starting lineup here for a pretty long period of time. A lot of substitutions. They got 4 of them sitting over on the sidelines. Come in, put on a little pressure, but they can't get in the game.
Smith did say, though, that as they get down the stretch, they may go to about 7 men. But
5 seconds. 5 seconds.
They got it. Kenny Smith with a good defense. Stansbury tried to get the timeout, but he could not. The turnover will give it to North Carolina. 3:22 to go in the first half. Carolina, top-seeded, top-ranked with a 3-point lead. North Carolina with 11 turnovers. They only average 15 a game. We have some changes now. Into the ball game comes Wolf. Hales in. Also for the first time, Cecil Exum, number 50. And Buzz Peterson, number 22, is in. So mass substitution. Only guy that stayed in was Perkins. And here's McLaughlin again.
Good steal. Exum.
Oh, that could hurt.
That's a good play by Exum. He just got there late, and he really came down on McLaughlin.
He kind of hit his back and his neck at a funny angle, but he's going to be okay, and the senior will pick up the foul. It's a tough way to pick it up, though.
Well, I said it was a good play. I didn't mean to hurt a man. It's a good play. What I meant is you should go for the foul. He should have tried to get there earlier. You see him come down. Actually, McLaughlin had tripped. He probably would have had a hard time making that shot. He should go to the line for 2.
McLaughlin out of Collingdale, Pennsylvania. John Chaney said that he makes you cry or he makes you laugh because he's never neutral. He's always trying to create something, and reason they call him the gambler. And at the line now, he had 14 points in that one over St. John's.
Not only a good player statistically, but any coach likes to have those senior guards when he gets in the NCAA tournament.
This is only the second free throw in this ball game.
Now, Gary, remember the last time Temple went to the foul line, they did not put any players on the line. Now, here he's shooting 2, but the reason for that before, they wanted to get down and be set up properly in their 1-3-1 trap and defense, so they would be down there set for the half-court situation.
McLaughlin, by the way, is an 81% free throw shooter, and maybe that little...
Yeah, I think it threw him off stride. Good press by Temple again.
3-point lead for North Carolina. Exum almost traveled, and John Chaney is up, and he wanted the call.
Chaney works that official very, very well. You see the confidence that Dean Smith has in his bench, though. There's another 5-second opportunity, not quite.
Wolf, whose brother played in North Carolina, brings it out to Hale.
The concept for Smith is you don't want anybody to have to play in the second half that hadn't been in the first half.
Perkins not able to drop it. Granger Hall comes down to the rebound. He led him in rebounding this year at 7 a game. He has 7 already this afternoon.
Double low post, and now Granger Hall wants the ball.
That's Blackwell. Perkins there again, and Sam with 9 rebounds. He is defensively controlling those boards.
Temple not looking inside to Hall. Oh, what a steal.
Now watch this. Blackwell with Perkins behind him, and Sam fouled him.
Well, Blackwell is really a city-wise ball player. What he does right here, realizing he can't let Sam Perkins stay away from him, he used his body to get right into Perkins on the break and then bust away from him at the last instant. When Sam hit him with the body, the official called the foul.
That's what we were referring to earlier. They had 11 turnovers, now 13. So Dean Smith's team, their first game in this tournament, a little shaky in the early going as far as mechanical.
Not in a one-on-one situation, so you know, Temple doesn't pick anything up but the ball right there.
That was the 16th foul. Second foul against Sam Perkins. 2:10 to go until halftime. At halftime, Brent will have scores and highlights and a feature on Kentucky's one of the Twin Towers, Sam Bowie.
Nice fake.
Rockland with Wolf jumping out on him.
Blackwell forgetting about his ankle now.
Rain had the open shot.
Got to make those.
Well, Temple is not an outstanding rebounding team. They have to rely on their good shooting, and now we have another traveling call. That's 14 turnovers.
Well, the good quickness on the part of Temple's defense is shaking up the backcourt players from North Carolina.
Billy, at the conclusion of every CBS Sports broadcast in these tournaments, we'll be selecting a Chevrolet Most Valuable Player from each team, and Chevrolet donates a $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of each school to further assist qualified students in all chosen academic fields.
Harry, this score's been on 26-23 for a while.
And we're inside 2 minutes left in the first half. That's a foul on Jordan.
Now we're in the 1-and-1.
Stansbury applauding. He realizes anytime he can get Jordan to commit a foul like that, he'll take it. That's 17 fouls against North Carolina.
And now Kenny Smith in and Jordan probably out.
That's right. Jordan will come out of the lineup and Kenny Smith will come in. Smith was going to quite possibly be the ACC Rookie of the Year, and then when the injury slowed him down, Dalrymple of Georgia Tech won that coveted award.
Not to take anything away from either one of those guys, because both will be outstanding collegiate players.
Henry Dalrymple, 6'4", and Stansbury, good free throw shooter. He's shooting 80%. In fact, he is the all-time free throw shooter. He broke Hal Lear's record. Remember Hal Lear, Guy Rogers?
Sure do. Rogers and Lear, probably as fine a backcourt as ever been in the collegiate game.
They got to the Final Four.
Final Four, once with Hal Lear and twice with Guy Rogers.
Nice break, but Doherty can't get it to go. Wolf tries to follow it.
Doherty should have had that layup. That's the second layup he's missed in the game, although Temple had good defense on him. Oh, he can shoot it.
He doesn't take long to get rid of it.
Good trapping again now by Temple. They really score in spurts.
After trailing by 3, they lead by 1.
And they score off their defense.
Steve Hale, they've left him open, and they pay for it this time. 4 points for Steve Hale.
Dean Smith getting a little upset right now at the way his team is not protecting the ball. They do not usually turn it over as much as they have in this ball game.
14 of them.
Stansbury going to take an opportunity. They're going to let him go baseline. Forget it.
He is headed for a big afternoon. Already with 18 points.
A lot of times, Gary, in every sport, a defense gives offenses a certain opportunity. And for Temple, a guy like Stansbury couldn't like anything more than have somebody let him go baseline for that jumper.
Well, he could shoot it outside, and that time you saw him take it inside. Steve Hale committing the foul, his first. 3-point play possibility for Stansbury.
North Carolina players defensively very seldom guard a guy straight up. They force him in one direction or the other. And when you're playing a Stansbury, when you give him a direction, he's going to score.
That's one of the few things he hasn't done well, and that's miss a free throw. Still a 1-point lead for the Temple Owls. There's your time, 47 seconds.
I look for North Carolina either get a very easy shot or hold the ball here for one.
Baseline, Brad Doherty. Wolf. Nice second effort by Joe Wolf.
A lot of size. Wolf, the freshman from Wisconsin.
We have another freshman coming up from Wisconsin in the second game. Robbie Knight's Todd Meyer, who plays for Indiana. At halftime, the feature on Sam Bowie, and then we're going to have a preview of that Louisiana Tech-Houston game. Carl Malone. Kenny Smith, we mentioned, had 6 of Carolina's 15 turnovers. You look at that hand, in all fairness, he's really battling.
Well, if you don't have the use of that thumb in the left hand, particularly if you're a point guard and you've got to be able to use both hands if you're going to be very effective, it certainly has to handicap you.
Remember this, that all year long they averaged only 11 turnovers, and already they're over that.
Look at the matchup. Michael Jordan on Terrence Stansbury. I knew Dean Smith would eventually go to that.
Here's Granger Hall. He's only 2 of 8 in the first half, and he starts this second half out in a very impressive fashion.
And a nice job by John Chaney, too, to say, hey, we're not getting the ball into the big guy. He's got to take it inside. He really defies anybody defensively to stop him from putting the ball up in their face.
He's powerful. He's averaged 17 points a game, and in that first half, he was held down hitting 2 of 8 for a total of 4 points. He did have 8 rebounds, however, in the first half. Doherty committing the personal foul.
Long. Good job.
That's going to be a foul on Doherty again.
Good job by McNish. He beat him on the inside. Now, very seldom do you see a man go from the second position and rebounding in a foul line to be able to just crowd right inside. Doherty kind of fell asleep. McNish really battled him to the board.
In a matter of 2 seconds, he's picked up 2 fouls and now has 3. And you said you thought Dean might go with only 5 or 6 guys, but if they get in foul trouble, that would change that in a hurry.
Now, I believe that he'll try to go ahead and stay with this lineup for a while.
Bachman not getting it. There's Hall with his 9th rebound of the game. Stansbury. I love to watch this guy play. Got a funny rotation on the ball, doesn't it? 20 points.
Nobody better tell him about it.
Don't overcoach, right?
That's right. Some fellas have unusual technique, but if they can hit him, you better let them stay with it.
Going to have a foul. It's going to go on Coe. Coe did not play that much in the first half. They went to the freshman Blackwell, and that's his 2nd personal foul. Coe's the blender. Each one of these guys has a title. John Chaney makes a big point of that, and that's the blender, number 4.
Well, you remember the last fellow that went up to Georgetown from the state of North Carolina, did fairly well. And Coe has another opportunity to go from North Carolina and come back and haunt the State University.
That ball was kicked by Stansbury, and North Carolina will inbounds. We played almost a minute in the second half.
Well, talking about, of course, Sleepy Floyd, winner of Georgetown, from nearby Gastonia, North Carolina. Not many get away from Dean Smith that he really wants at the time.
I think he thought he was going to get that last shot 2 years ago to beat North Carolina, and of course the turnover did not allow that.
Hall really battling inside on Sam Perkins.
Matt Doherty has already hit 4 or 5 in this game.
He had a great ACC tournament, particularly in the scoring end. He always plays well as a blender. Now Doherty's out on Stansbury.
34-33, Carolina by 1.
What Dean Smith trying to get a little bit more size on him. Now North Carolina switching.
Ranger Hall with a pump fake.
Charge.
And that will be charging on him.
Sam Perkins is down.
That's his 2nd. Ranger Hall is a force in there. He's strong. He just knocked him backwards with little or no effort.
Well, what Hall does well, he pump fakes, but he also gives you his chest. Pushes you away a little bit and then goes back up inside. That's good defense by Sam Perkins, who's not scoring that much, but giving Dean Smith a good floor game.
He's still checking to see if everything's there. Carolina by 1. 18 and a half minutes to go in this game. The winner will play the winner of Richmond and Indiana that will follow, and that'll be in the Omni in Atlanta. Perkins kicks it back out. Michael Jordan.
A lot of people wonder if Michael Jordan can make a jump shot. And one of the reasons that I think he has a hard time hitting jumpers occasionally is because people say, hey, I'm not going to let him have anything else, so they give him the jumper.
At the Charlotte Coliseum, the 2nd round game. Carolina leading Temple by 3. As we continue on the road to Seattle, the NCAA championship on CBS.
Double team. Good job by McNish.
That pass that time effectively to Hall, and they have a foul spotted on Coe inside.
Ranger Hall looking over here, shaking his head. He can't miss that shot any way in the world. He really upset with himself. because that was 2 that he had. Gets excellent position inside. Look at how he sits down so well. Very well drilled player. Goes for his move. Good pump fake. That was the charge that time on Perkins that he didn't get away with.
And so Coe, with the foul, has now picked up his 3rd of the ball game. Jump out on Jordan a little bit this time. We'll let him have that corner area. Perkins, and that'll be a foul. McNish going for the steal. He's been foul prone all year long, and he's picked up his 2nd. Doesn't get a lot of credit, McNish, but down the stretch, he's been a very effective player for them.
And he gives them good size. He's banging around in there. And right now, you see the Temple players getting very physical with North Carolina.
Here it comes. Kentucky and BYU to follow. Then Houston going against Louisiana Tech. Dayton and Oklahoma, and Jordan, the All-America, now makes it 38-33.
McNish just shook his head because he was in perfect defensive position. And Michael put that afterburner on and just went up above him.
Michael Jordan was 16.
You notice Dean Smith trying to play bigger people on Stansbury here in the second half.
Brad Doherty coming out on him. There's Coe with the rebound and rejected by Perkins.
And again, there was Kenny Smith, not able to use his left hand effectively, and he couldn't put the ball on the floor.
Now will go on McLaughlin.
Stansbury's shot. Now look at Perkins. He was over there to block or try to block that shot. Comes all the way across the lane here. Great play by Sam Perkins.
Sam plays with a lot more emotion this year. Been criticized in the past that maybe he was a little low-key, but that was not a low-key play.
Now you've got the crowd getting into the game, and that's a big advantage for North Carolina to play basically here on a home court. Good defense by McNish.
Up by Brad Doherty. Here comes McLaughlin. Up to Coe.
Nice.
Ed Coe, his first 2 points.
That's a good job pulling up and taking that jumper when it's available.
38-35. Smith again. See that? He almost lost the ball dribbling up. Think he could be the difference in a national championship with that hand?
And no question about it, Gary. He's not playing, obviously, as he did when he was healthy.
Kenny Smith, Brad Doherty
Nice
with
pass.
the rebound. Here's Perkins, and we're going to have a foul on Sam Perkins. I did not see that.
Now, they're saying he pushed off with his hand. Sam Perkins not complaining. Dean Smith also trying to work the officials, saying, how about goaltending? But
Sam has got his, or should say, Dean has his hands out in despair. What in the world is that all about? Now, Sam with 3 fouls, and also Brad Doherty with 3.
Yeah, but Dean Smith not looking down that bench, Gary. He wants to go with his starting lineup as long as he can.
There's the trap, and they've got Stansbury hung up a little bit, but he coolly gets out of it.
That's McNish coming out to help. Good job. The 2 very well coached teams right here.
Temple can cut it to 1 on this trip down the floor. Granger Hall, he's a warrior. Granger Hall will not back off. He had that shaky first half. Now he's starting to come on. He has 8 points.
Notice how he goes up for that shot and doesn't worry about the defender being there at all. They list him at 6'8". I think he's a little smaller than that.
15:40 to go in this game. Michael Jordan was 16. The fake, and somebody caught him on the way up.
And what Stansbury did is caught him with his knee or his ankle.
That's a 16 foul already against Temple.
That should be 2 shots.
Temple picking up a lot of fouls, and we haven't even played 5 minutes of the second half.
North Carolina never went to the line in the first half. Temple could be getting a little tired now, too, Gary. You take a look at what happened in the first half. Stansbury played every minute. Hall was only out for 1 minute, and the North Carolina starters basically played 15 and 16 minutes.
It was Stansbury's first foul, and as you mentioned, North Carolina did not shoot any free throws. This is their first of the game. 17 points for Michael Jordan. Jordan, he shoots 79%. Is there anything in his game that he doesn't do well?
Well, Gary, teams that win don't foul as much as their opponents and go to the line more. North Carolina this year went to the line 227 times more than their opponents. Temple went to the line 145 more times than their opponents. So that's a big stat.
40 to 37. North Carolina, 5.5 minutes, should say 15.5 minutes to go in this game.
Nice job by Stansbury beating the trap.
Jordan is the man now trying to stop Stansbury. He had that brilliant first half.
Dean Smith trying to keep bigger people on Stansbury in the second half.
That was a nice play by Coe. He's hit a couple in the second half for 4 points. He just used the glass perfectly. 40-39, Carolina by 1. Look at this. Jordan wanted to move, came back out.
He had the jump shot, wanted to go further.
Matt Doherty.
Doherty getting a piece of everything. There's Perkins inside. He gets fouled.
And that'll be the 17th foul against Temple.
And it's going to be on Stansbury reaching in.
That's his second.
Now look at Granger Hall. He's bent over, grabbing his pants, and that is really a tip-off sign for a big guy that is tired.
You know, there's not only physical tiredness, Billy, mental tiredness to play a tough game like they did against St. John's.
Well, you see every player from Temple bent over, grabbing their pants, trying to get a breather.
Dean Smith played on that in the first half, using his bench, and now maybe it's going to pay some dividends. Perkins at the line, 2 points, 10 rebounds. Sam, for a big man, you wouldn't expect to shoot as well as he does from the line. He's shooting 86% from the free throw line.
Sam been up in the top of college ranks in regard to the conference standings and free throw shooting throughout the entire year. Just a total all-around ball player.
Last year he shot 82%, so he's even improved on that percentile. He's just had a remarkable senior year. And Perkins with 2 free throws gives North Carolina a 42-39 lead. 14:56 left to play.
You lift because you feel the defense tightening up on your superstar. Ed Coe, as I said, has that motivation. He was a fellow that was not recruited by North Carolina schools very heavily, as was the case with Sleepy Floyd, but liked to move to the Final Four.
They break the pressure very effectively. Temple has shown the poise, that Philadelphia sense about the game. Nice with the rebound.
Nice defense by Doherty that time. Stansbury still had it right on the mark.
One of the few he's missed. 42-39. Pressure by Coe.
Well, Hall just gives no room inside. When he gets a man in this area defensively, here you see the zone. Trapping out of that 1-3-1 with McLaughlin running the baseline. That normally makes you weak trying to rebound when you got your smallest player on that baseline. Out of Doherty's range, does a good job pulling it in.
He moved it in nicely, locked it in.
That was smart play. That's what seniors do and freshmen don't. Freshmen take the jumper out of their range. A senior pulls it in a little closer.
He'd like to get to the Final Four for the 3rd time. The veteran, the senior, 44-39, North Carolina.
Now North Carolina trapping. Oh, Michael Jordan, that's a walk.
And Rain and walking with the ball. Brad Doherty deck. Rain faked 3 times and walked twice, and that'll be 8 turnovers against Temple.
I bet you Rain thought that was a jet flying overhead when Michael Jordan went by him. His head was about equal to the rim when he went flying on by there.
Reason North Carolina is leading in the second half, and the shooting of 67, they have really worked the ball in effectively.
And one of the reasons they're leading, Gary, is that they've got a little fatigue factor going on Temple right now. Michael Jordan was wide open. Doherty didn't hit him with the ball.
There's Granger Hall coming out and getting a piece of it.
Well, you see what happens. Most teams will play a big man down on the inside. What Temple does, they move their big guys on the wing, so it's very difficult to rotate the ball against this defense. See Granger Hall coming out? Normally you'd be throwing that ball over a guard.
North Carolina probing with great patience. Perkins. At 6 points for Sam. 46-39 as now they have their biggest lead of the ball game. They led by as many as 6 in the first half.
This is a subtle change, but Dean Smith putting a bigger man on Stansbury in the second half, trying to get him to alter that jump shot.
He's had to work hard to get the shot, and he didn't have it there because Matt Doherty got a piece of it and a foul on Hall, and that's his 3rd.
Now, what Temple may have to do to offset that is start setting some screens for Stansbury to get the big guy caught up. That's an excellent defensive switch there by Dean Smith, putting a bigger man on Stansbury. You see that Doherty goes straight up, alters the jump shot, and Kenny Smith from his guard position comes in, gets some rebound. And Gary, in the second game, we'll see some Richmond guards that go in and rebound pretty well. Incredible win they had over Auburn.
Joe Wolf will come back in for UNC, and Brad Doherty's going to leave.
You notice Dean Smith went almost 8 minutes, well 7 minutes, with that starting lineup. In the first half, he was substituting so liberally.
Kenny Smith, his 3rd straight start since he was shelved with that wrist injury. And Kenny this year has been shooting 81%. You look at this starting lineup, and they have 1, 2, 3 men over 70%. And a 4th, 80. They have really been a good free throw shooting team. The only guy who doesn't shoot them well is Brad Doherty. There's the bandage that Kenny Smith has been persevering with.
Well, if you like to read a lot, you wouldn't even want to have that bandage on to turn the pages, and much less to play basketball. I mean, he's very... Although he's playing well, you can see that it really handicaps him. And here's North Carolina picking up in full court trap pressure. And they drop back to man-to-man.
With a 48-39 lead, you don't want to go too long and let Carolina go to their four corners
Michael
offense.
Jordan with a big, good job by McLaughlin. Oh, great job by McLaughlin.
He gets it off to Rain. Temple's last points came at the 15-15 mark, and it's 12:30 right now. There's McLaughlin and a foul on Joe Wolf holding.
That's a big play right there. Now it's 1-on-1 situation. Now John Chaney hot saying his man got hit. Talking about McLaughlin on the outside. That's a big turnaround there as Temple gets the ball right back and the basket.
John Chaney, a native of Philadelphia, is an outstanding high school player there and was an All-American, an NAIA All-American at Bethune-Cookman. So he knows how to play this game. Rockland kicks it out. 48-41, a 7-point lead for Carolina. 12.5 minutes left in the game.
North Carolina really picking up the pressure now in this zone defense.
Rockland, and he's hit 2 in a row, and he's bringing the Owls back.
And now Temple comes right back with a press of their own. Sam Perkins has always been a good outlet player against the press, and there's the left hand by Kenny Smith. A little shaky.
Rockland in that first game against St. John's played so well. Then he got into foul difficulty, came back in and spurted him at the end.
Temple doing a good job when Michael Jordan puts the ball on the floor. Everybody collapsing on him.
Kenny Smith.
Not there.
Matt Doherty tried to follow and going to have a foul on that. And he doesn't like that call at all.
Well, Matt Doherty was going for the ball. I don't think he liked it because I don't believe he committed the foul.
5 team fouls against North Carolina.
He's still talking about it.
Matt Doherty.
He had his left hand up. He's going for the ball.
He's been so reliable for this team. He had a shooting slump last year, and Dean Smith said he thought he was thinking too much. This year he's picked back up, percentile back up to where it had been.
Now North Carolina back in their zone. They've been switching their defenses throughout this ball game as his usual pattern for them.
Big story, though, is Stansbury has not gotten those open shots.
He ought to be able to get one here against the zone.
Takes Matt inside. Oh, what a change.
What a play.
22.
I thought he would get the shot against the zone.
All of a sudden, it's a three-point game again.
Stansbury reached in. Doherty looking positively for that jump shot. Not there.
Temple has a chance to cut it to 1. Stansbury, look at that head and body fake. And turn the inside out.
Now North Carolina back to the man-to-man. He's got Doherty isolated.
It's a 1-point game, and number 43 has just brought him roaring back into this.
Kenny Smith forcing the ball down court nicely. Now that's what they didn't do when they had Hale in the game. Hale does not force that Temple, and Temple's starting to walk down the court now.
And that's the reason that they'll allow Kenny Smith, despite that heavily bandaged left hand, to stay in the lineup, to get that tempo picked up, as you mentioned.
Well, if you had 5 timeouts the way it used to be, instead of the 3, Derek, you would believe Don Chaney would call a timeout now to rest his team. But with only 3 timeouts in TV games this year, you just can't afford to take it.
That shot that was blocked by Perkins is the 8th block of the game for North Carolina. And Perkins just kind of I think he got angry that Stansbury was getting all those shots inside. He came across and rejected it. There's Smith going for the steal, off to Hale, back to Kenny.
Stansbury couldn't grab it with a left hand again.
Oh, Stansbury goaltending. That shows his jumping ability.
Now the Temple players, Jerry, and I don't want to belabor this point, but they are very, very tired. Look at McLaughlin bending over trying to get his breath. Stansbury the same way.
Billy, there are 2 thoughts about getting a first-round bye. One is that you're going to be tired if you have to play another game, but also a lot of people feel that you need to get that first game out of the way. But here, it's obviously physically taking something out of Temple.
Yep. I like Bobby Knight's statement about coaches that say they don't want the first-round bye. His answer was baloney. Anytime you can get to the next round, out, no matter how you get there, you ought to take it.
Coe hit 2 in a row, misses this one, and Brad Doherty had that one collected, and McLaughlin is fouled in.
When you're tired, you make foolish fouls.
The second on McLaughlin.
That might have been a pretty good foul, though, in this respect. North Carolina had a 4-on-2 fast break going the other way.
Coe comes out of the ball game, and we're going to see the freshman Blackwell in there again.
What'll be tough for Blackwell is with that bad ankle. Sometimes when you play in a half and then sit down for a while, it really tightens up.
North Carolina using the free throw line to good advantage in the second half. They're perfect, 6 of 6. Brad Doherty, possibly the most improved player on this team.
Guys in the lane a little quick there. There's Perkins. He's going to score from there. He gets fouled also.
It's another foul. It'll be on Rain.
Now
A little emotion here.
North Carolina just starting to dominate inside against a tired ball club.
And Perkins go to the line as Rain, 34, commits his second foul. Rain has been their sixth man all year long, and the biggest 6'5" player in the country, according to John Chaney. He plays taller than that.
Biggest 6'5" player in the country. I have to think about that. We saw a pretty good one the other night. How about Roosevelt Chapman?
Oh, I don't think he's 6'3", is he?
This one's 6'5". Back to the free throw shooting. It's something you need if you're going to win an NCAA championship. And I pointed out how many more free throws North Carolina takes an opponent, but they're shooting 79% as a team.
Well, they're second in the nation, both, Billy, in field goal percentage and free throw percentage. So after cutting it down to 1, all of a sudden it's 54-47.
You notice North Carolina not giving up anything either. They're keeping the pressure on Temple, trying to make Stansbury work full court to get the ball at the court. Nice job by...
Gonna have a foul, though.
I'll tell you what. I didn't think that was good officiating. I'll tell you why. Stansbury pushed off to start off with. Then Hale reached in and got all ball. The official called the foul.
That's a 16 foul. Temple inbounds when we return. Timeout. North Carolina leads it with 9:52 left. Trailing 54-47, 9:52 to go. In the second half, Terrence Stansbury has had to work not only getting the open shot, but on that last play, Billy, shows you how hard he's had to work just to get the ball across the line.
And what North Carolina is doing is trying to force Stansbury to waste a lot of effort just getting the ball over half court. Now, he's played a sensational game, and he's one of the most gifted players in regard to being able to play a lot of minutes. You know, he's a guy averaging 39 minutes a ball game, so it's not like he's going to wear down, but when you get fresh players on you all the time, it's very difficult not to be worn out.
Stansbury in the second half has 6 points after scoring 18 in the first half. He had 8 of 14 in the first half. In the second half, Billy, he's 3 of 7, and of those 7, I imagine maybe one of them has been an open shot.
Well, and you know, as this game winds down, Stansbury, as he has throughout his entire career, is going to want that ball in his hands.
Here he is with the ball.
North Carolina goes back to the 1-3-1 zone. Matching up a little bit out of that. Doherty over on Stansbury's side.
Blackwell.
Oh, freshman.
Chaney told me next year they're just going to turn him loose. They're going to give him the ball. They think he's that kind of scorer.
Now, one of the things really helps Temple's program is that all of these kids play in the Sunny Hill Summer League.
Smith, Jordan, a foul, and that's what Kenny Smith does so well.
Forces the ball up. North Carolina did a good job going over the press. Gary, I pointed out about the Sunny Hill League. It's probably the finest league for kids, and Sunny Hill is, he's a legend in the city of Philadelphia. Here you see Kenny Smith pushing it down the court. Good pass. No way to stop Michael Jordan from that distance. But you find so many of these kids get the good summer activity there, improves themselves greatly as players, and Blackwell, of course, will fall into that same thing. He's been playing in the league.
Jordan has 20 points. That foul on McNish. Yeah, Sunny Hill used to do some commentary work for CBS.
That's right. Very knowledgeable guy.
The Maker League also in Philadelphia, and then the Sunny Hill League, and that Philadelphia Wise basketball. They really understand the game.
Nice job by Kenny Smith defensively. There's Michael Jordan stepping out.
Blackwell, who hit one a moment ago, now zeroes in for his second in a row, and it's a 5-point game.
Ice water on his veins. You see North Carolina trying to break against this press. Look at the big man handle that ball. And very seldom does North Carolina use Michael Jordan against the press because they want him down the other end after they beat him. Remember, when you're playing North Carolina in the second game, when you're playing Indiana, if they have that lead and the clock goes down, they start to use the clock on you.
There's Sam. He had only 2 points in the first half, but he has 10 now for the game. 58-51. And with the ball, Stansbury, he pulled him out before this year. He may have to do it if they're going to have a chance at all.
See, North Carolina going to the zone now. They want to force Temple. Anything they're going to do, they've got to do from outside. That's over.
McNish. He does not shoot that much from that area. He needs to be about 5 feet away, out of his range.
When you're playing against Team Smith, you're playing against a guy that doesn't make many bad moves. And now North Carolina is spreading it out. They want Temple to have to come out of the zone, which Temple very seldom does.
They're going to go the 4 corners now?
That's right. It's not really the 4 corners as much as it is try to force Temple to play man-to-man.
That was was a wise move. They had a real mismatch there. McLaughlin on Doherty. Doherty took it in. They're going to wave the basket off, however. The foul will go on McLaughlin, his third.
Most people that have played against Temple teams throughout that period, even when they had Harry Litwack, what they try to do is get the lead and force Temple to come out of the zone, because they do play the zone as well as anybody in the country. Don Casey, who was the head coach at Temple before John Chaney, now in the pros, he was a disciple of Harry Litwack and carried that zone right on through, and Jimmy Maloney was his assistant.
This man would be a main man on a lot of ball clubs, wouldn't he?
Oh, no question.
He's the dominating player, now
in the lane.
Roll behind, and they're going to get another free throw as a 1-and-1, and prematurely in the lane.
Well, you know, in fairness to Rain, he's the one that got called for in the lane, but Michael Jordan is really pushing him on in there. See John Chaney not liking that call at all. Might have reason to agree with him. Chaney kind of laughing at that. Michael Jordan, see how he's getting down? He's forcing Rain to make that move just to keep him out of there.
Well, it's academic. He missed it again anyway. Doherty, as we said, the only man not shooting over 70% in the starting lineup.
Maybe Guy Lewis ought to bring his Houston team up to watch how North Carolina figures that out from the foul line.
I had a real discussion with Bobby Knight about free throw shooting yesterday. He says it's physics. You have to work on your physics. And Bobby Knight, his Indiana Hoosiers will meet Richmond. It's coming up next year from the Charlotte Coliseum.
Blackwell caught.
Oop, off the hands of Granger Hall. Hall has not been doing a lot in the second half.
Well, he's had to sit down. He tried to rest. He was really tired.
You know, his knee brace looks like it's come loose, Billy. Look at it.
Yep.
Flapping around. He's got a piece of it dangling at the side of his leg.
Now North Carolina spreading them out, trying to get them man-to-man. They're playing that little four corners.
And Doherty. 8 points for the sophomore.
This is not the four corners delay. This is the four corners, the semi-four corners where they're trying to score.
A 9-point lead. Temple asks for timeout. The Owls are going to have to regroup. 6 minutes, 43 seconds to go in the second round on CBS. In the second half, North Carolina has shot 71% from the field.
And here's been the key in my estimation of the second half is Doherty coming out to play Stansbury, because it's put a bigger man on Stansbury. He's had a hard time hitting that jumper against him.
3 of 7 in the second half from the field.
Granger Hall getting position inside on Perkins. They're really leaning on each other. Officials ought to stop that.
Rockland to Cove.
Good defense and a great shot.
Rebound is Rain. This time he doesn't walk with it. He gets it in. 60-53. Rain with 7 points.
That was quite a shot by McLaughlin. Look out here.
Granger Hall couldn't get there in time, and Jordan with that quickness with 22. That's a nice pass by Perkins, spotting him.
And that's why I said they don't want Michael Jordan back there bringing the ball up the court. They want him on the other end.
Perkins and Jordan.
There's
Consensus All-Americans for 2 years in a row. The last to do that was Keith Wilkes in that ball club at UCLA. And Walt. And there's the block by Perkins. That's a nice block. Granger Hall, though, can't get the shot to go for it.
Oh, Sam Perkins lost his footing. Misjudged where the basket was.
Stansbury at the other end. And McLaughlin from the corner. It could have been a big basket. That would have cut it down to 5. Instead, a foul by Ed Cove.
North Carolina looking for the break on every opportunity now. They're going up against a tired Temple team. And there was where Sam kind of lost his footing and misjudged where the basket was. You can see that he started out a little bit too early.
You can see the speed of this team. You saw Jordan get down there. Look how quickly Perkins on the next trip down was at the other end.
Dean Smith taking Michael Jordan out of the ball game now. Extremely tired himself, but if he's tired, can you imagine what Stansbury is?
Matt Doherty with a strong second half has a 1-and-1. 62-53, North Carolina. They're looking for their 28th win of the year. Their only losses to Arkansas and then to Duke in the ACC tournament.
Well, Gary, Mike Swanson gave us a stat, which we're trying to keep up with all the teams in the NCAA. This year, against the field that made the NCAA tournament, North Carolina is 11-2. And against the seeded top 16, they are 7-2. That is really some schedule and quite a record.
Any wonder they're ranked number 1? On the other hand, Temple's 4-2 after winning the game against St. John's.
And this year in the regular season, they didn't play anybody that eventually got seeded in the top 16.
64-53, approaching 5 minutes to go. Biggest lead of the game for Carolina. Rain has another one.
Rain looking strong on the inside. He wants that shot.
9 points for Rain. He's not a starter, but he plays as much as a starter. There's Cole with the steal. They haven't given up on this one. McLaughlin, and Hale's got it back.
Good dive.
Boy, this is a scramble situation, and Matt Doherty got it off to Brad.
And here you go. Without Michael Jordan down the other end, North Carolina holds up.
And we're going to have a foul. Temple on a couple of occasions had a chance to come up with a basket that would really cut it down. Once missing, and this time having the ball stolen back.
Stansbury picking up another foul. Cole has jammed his fingers. And down here on the side, reaching down for the ball. That was a great job by Matt Doherty going down on the floor for the loose ball.
Hale will go to the line. And we're going to have a substitution checking in here in a moment.
Michael Jordan coming back in.
And instead, at this moment, we're going to take a break. 4:41, North Carolina with a 64-55. That timeout now has given Temple only 1 remaining. North Carolina was 3. There's so many people, Billy, that make a tournament like this successful. And one man in particular we want to thank on the men's basketball committee, the athletic director at Notre Dame, Gene Corrigan. There he is.
Well, heavily involved in this part of the country. He was formerly with the University of Virginia. Then he got involved with the Atlantic Coast Conference as an administrator. Then went up to this was Washington and Lee, and then back to the University of Virginia. Now up to Notre Dame. What a guy.
Also want to thank our tournament managers in Charlotte, Dr. Tom Scott and Clyde Walker, who's the athletic director at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte.
Remember when they went to the Final Four? What a Cinderella story that was. Cornbread Maxwell, Bill Foster is now down at Clemson, put that program together, and then Lee Rose came in and took them to the NIT and then the Final Four. And what a ball club.
Bill, let's talk a little basketball. We have 4:41 left. North Carolina with a 64-55 lead.
That's a history
And
lesson.
you're coaching now.
Yeah.
In your Temple, you've got a tired ball club.
You got tired and you got to get out of your zone. You've got to go man-to-man. And you're going up against 2 things. 1, a team that is very well drilled in the delay game, and 2, a team that can shoot free throws. So if you're Temple, you got to hope for somebody to really help you out here.
Temple Owls, who finished 3rd twice in the NCAA tournament. And North Carolina, who's been to the Final Four 7 times under Dean Smith, winning the national championship 2 years ago. As you look at Matt Doherty, he was on that club, along with Sam Perkins,
You know,
Michael Jordan.
Excuse me, Gary, we talked about Lear and Rogers, that great backcourt from Temple in the mid-50s. And Jay Norman, an assistant at Temple now, was the guy that got the rebounds to get that break starting, and he's still with Temple.
Another coach over there, Jim Maloney, he was the coach at Niagara, had Calvin Murphy.
That's right. He was a great player at Niagara, and you know where he was an assistant? To Lefty Drizel. Lefty in the tournament.
Was that at Davidson or Maryland?
No, that was at Maryland.
Hale at the line now with another free throw coming. He's a fine free throw shooter, 88%. Hall almost not able to control that. Rain comes down to them.
Rain's really doing a great job here in the last 5 minutes or so. He's getting the most out of his ability. North Carolina now goes back to man-to-man. They just constantly change up.
10-point lead for Carolina. Granger Hall, that'll be a foul on Brad Doherty. Granger Hall has had to work today, and that's Brad's 4th personal foul. Granger Hall had 20 points against St. John's, but he hasn't been able to work against the Dohertys.
Doherty kind of laughing at this one. I have to see this one over again, see if it's a foul, too. I think we got so many big people in here, the officials are getting a little confused. Doherty goes up there, gets all ball. Might have got him with a little body.
Hall does have 10 rebounds in this game, but well below his seasonal scoring average of 17.
Well, you have to think in regard to Hall, and we saw Eldridge Hudson the other night at UNLV. When you have that serious a knee injury, you probably lay around a lot of days wondering if you'll ever play again.
He underwent reconstructive surgery, meaning they had to rebuild that knee. And then they found the brace, and the rest has been a successful story. It's taken a lot of courage on his part, too, rehabilitating.
You know, he plays with abandon, too, Gary, so he doesn't apparently even pay any attention to the fact that at any time his career could have been ended.
Temple last year was 14 and 15, but 3 of their starters were hurt, a couple of them most of the year. Now, McLaughlin committing the foul.
Now we're seeing the 4 corners with Kenny Smith in the middle, but again, he's not as effective as he was because he has a hard time using that left hand. But when he had those both hands going well in this 4 corners, he was pretty tough to handle.
McLaughlin with 4. Smith will not get that off either. It will continue the rest of this year. Even though he hurt it back on January 29th, they're talking like 12 weeks before it's completely healed. So if they continue on in the tournament, he'll have to play that way.
And here you go, talking about free throw shooting. Very difficult when you have a team that's this patient, understands the delay game, and can hit the free throw.
Hall rips it down.
Good pair of hands, doesn't he? Gets his hands on that ball, they're all his.
Still a 10-point lead for Carolina. 4 minutes now left in this game. Coe saved it.
Oh, nice job by Coe.
There's Brad Doherty, and again they come back with it. Rain, he's hit a couple down there, but he's going to back this one out.
He saw Perkins coming over there.
Coe, followed by Hall. Perkins gets it off to Jordan. And he's fouled. It'll be Stansbury.
And Michael Jordan that time basically was just looking for an opening to draw the foul as opposed to worrying about how he was going to get the shot off.
Stansbury has committed his 4th foul.
And he's tired, Gary. He has really had to work this game. Works both ends of the floor. Has not been on the bench a second.
Well, he's been an Iron Man. He's been averaging about 39 minutes a game, but to come back this quick from a Thursday night game and here on Saturday and this kind of competition, it's a lot to ask.
How about Richmond? In the game we have coming up, 3 games in their tournament. Then they had to play on Tuesday night. Then they came down and beat Auburn. You think they aren't tired? Playing basically with 5 players.
67-56. Stansbury, Matt Doherty cut him off.
Yep, when you're tired, you don't quite have the touch.
And Rain over the back, committing the foul.
Look at North Carolina running to the other end of the court, setting up their defensive strategy. They look very, very confident. And here you have the Temple players walking all the way down the floor. And it's just the difference in much deeper personnel for North Carolina.
Well, next year with a 64-team field, there'll be nobody getting a bye. They'll all play the same number of games.
But you still don't have the same length of your bench. Now, there's the Temple bench down there. That's short. It's a good break.
8 points for Kenny Smith. That bench has some talent.
Oh, well, there are kids over there that for high school All-Americans aren't getting in the game. Probably last year, Dave Popson been in the game here and is going to be a great player at North Carolina. But, you know, you're talking about one of the premier recruits in the country.
Coming up, Kentucky, BYU, Brent with scores and highlights as we continue this triple header of action. Basketball on CBS.
There's North Carolina back in the 2-1-2 zone now. Just not wanting to give Temple anything inside, allowing them to have a couple of jump shots on the outside.
Coming up on 3 minutes now to go. Granger Hall had to extend that jump shot and couldn't go down the middle with it. Coe, he doesn't use much of an arch, and Stansbury stays with it.
Good job by Temple. Now they're sending everybody to the boards. When you do that, you're going to be susceptible to some easy, fast breaks. And Dean Smith, I'm sure, is going to notice that shortly and have his guys breaking along for easy baskets. And there's Coe over there pushing Michael Jordan. Kenny Smith wide open inside.
Rebound by McLaughlin, 69-58. That basket a while ago by Stansbury gives him 26 for the afternoon. Granger Hall again going to try it. This time he's successful.
Nice job by Temple. They're fighting back here. Now what Temple's doing, Gary, against the 4 corners is everybody's playing their own man, which means McLaughlin is the guy that's really got the job. Temple not helping out. So McLaughlin is all alone with Kenny Smith.
Coe let Jordan get away, though. He turned his back for an instant, and the ball was to Michael Jordan.
It's like Princeton with Petey Corral running the back door on somebody.
Michael Jordan now with 25.
I thought they called a foul, but what they said that he was goaltending, but the ball went in anyway.
Payne again. There's Hall again with another rebound, and Hall with another basket.
It's Brad Doherty getting a little tired in there. Hall beat him to the spot.
Hall with 13, so he's starting to come on offensively. They're running out of time. 1:45 left.
You notice everybody playing their own man, which leaves Kenny Smith one-on-one with McLaughlin. Now here's the backdoor cuts.
Ball thrown off the Temple player, retrieved by Perkins.
Well, Hall pushed off well. There's Raines pushing pretty well on Perkins. There goes Jordan backdoor.
He had Coe loose and behind him again. And Coe has committed the foul, and he doesn't like that at all. And he's got to be careful because he may may get the technical. He's fouled out. That's his 5th.
Well, I think he's complaining more about the fact that he knows he's not going to be in the game anymore. He knows that he was pushing with the hands on the hand check.
Jordan in the second half, to show you how effective he's been, Billy, as Cole leaves the ball game. Cole will return next year. He's just a sophomore. Jordan in the second half has hit 6 field goals in a row. He's 11 of 14 for the game.
And you see the club that's on the floor, Gary, with 1:25 to go. It's the starting lineup. Dean Smith, as we said, in the first half, uses all kinds of substitutions and combinations, but then he has that fresh team available when it goes down the stretch.
Well, he played on that and got some real help. Coming in for the first time is Kevin Clifton, number 23, a sophomore from Darby, Pennsylvania. That would be, what, 8 players that John Chaney has used. The second half, it's hard to believe, but
Temple has not gone to the foul line. In the first half, North Carolina did not go to the foul line.
Temple was 1 of 3 in the second half. Now, North Carolina is 16 of 22. That's just a complete reversal. In the first half, Carolina did not shoot a free throw. That's that tiredness, though, that will show up. You send a lot of guys to the line.
Oh, sure. You just can't get to the spot. You make some foolish fouls, and then all of a sudden you're into 1-1, and the other team, if they can make them, really starts to bury you.
Jordan with 27.
And North Carolina again back in the zone. Now that zone gets tighter and tighter as each second goes by, forcing you to shoot the outside shot.
Lockwood buries.
Range.
Evan Durant of BYU, the 3rd leading scorer in the country, going against the Twin Towers of Kentucky.
Well, Kenny Smith pushed off, not McLaughlin to the floor. No foul was called. Here's McLaughlin just now getting back into the action.
Kenny Smith.
Well, now, in fairness to McLaughlin, the way Temple is playing against the 4 corners is everybody guarding their own man. So obviously, if you beat McLaughlin, there's nobody there to pick up a Kenny Smith.
Kenny Smith with 11. That was blocked by Jordan.
Good. Now, here they go again.
Stansbury with 4 fouls. He's got to be careful. Did you see that? That'll be Perkins on the follow.
Dean Smith was hoping there'd be a timeout, wanted to make some substitutions there and let this crowd work for him.
McLaughlin, long range, and he can do that.
Here comes the timeout by Temple. That'll be the last one, I believe.
And that is the final timeout for the Temple Owls. They've used all 3 of them. 23 seconds left, and North Carolina will continue on to Atlanta.
In these modern times,
Here, our executive producer Kevin O'Malley, our producer Rick Lasavita, our director Larry Cavallina, our associate producer Patty Tuitt, technical manager Stu Meyer, Bob Burnham, our technical director, audio art Abowitz, and the broadcast associates who helped us, in particular Suzanne Smith, and our NCAA representative we mentioned earlier, Gene Corrigan. 77-66. North Carolina to win their 28th against only 2 setbacks. North Carolina with 10 blocked shots in this game.
Well, there's Kenny Smith again. Now, obviously he got fouled, but there's the crossover dribble, Gary, where he would have had to slide it over to that left hand. I was just watching to see if he could pick it up quickly. He had a hard time with it.
Stansbury has fouled out, and what a performance, 26 points.
And all the fans, there's Michael Jordan going over to congratulate him, and all the fans giving him a standing ovation here. A truly great player, one of the best in Big 5 history right there. And they've had so many of them, the 5 Super Philadelphia schools, LaSalle, St. Joe, Temple, Villanova, and Penn.
He hit 50% of his shots. Second half, though, he was really shut down, 4 of 10. Part of it was fatigue, part of it was North Carolina's defense, and now Hale will come in for Michael Jordan, Brad Doherty coming out, Sam Perkins coming out, and they will get ready now for the regional in the Omni in Atlanta. They'll play the winner of the Richmond, Indiana game, which you and I will be doing following this one.
That even sounds funny, doesn't it?
Well, there is a Richmond, Indiana.
That's what I'm saying, Richmond, Indiana.
But Kentucky BYU is going to be the next game themed throughout the country. That's from Birmingham, the Birmingham Jefferson Civic Center.
And interesting, the home court advantages, Gary. We've got here basically a North Carolina home court, which is a tremendous,
17 straight here.
Right, tremendous advantage to them. They have a lot of fans in this area, so that was a big advantage. And you've got UAB lost on their home court to BYU. You've got Memphis State at home, still with a chance to win. And if Kentucky can advance, they can go to Ruppert Arena for their regionals, and that'll be a giant advantage for them.
So we come to the last 15 seconds. The Temple Owls season will end, but what a year it's been for John Taney and Temple. They will finish here at 26-5. And right now it's hang on underneath.
Well, tough for the officials right here. 1 second to go, so we will have a man on the foul line without question. It's going to be Popolowski.
Popolowski, you got it. Mark Popolowski, a junior, hasn't played that much this year. Other man in the lineup, we have Pete Aguilar, who's a senior from the Bronx, who's played quite a bit. He was a starter a year ago.
There's Stansbury, outstanding player who's going to have a real good professional career. With his stamina and ability, he'll be a standout.
1 second left. North Carolina, the top seed in the East, will move on to the Omni in Atlanta, and could see a Bobby Knight, Dean Smith meeting there if Bobby Knight's team can defeat that Cinderella team, the surprising team, the Spiders of Richmond. Dean Smith would get another win. And for Temple, a very, very fine year. The Temple Owls, the Atlantic 10 regular season champions, ranked 20th in the country. The final score, 77-66. Brent Musburger will have scores and highlights. We're going to be back with some interviews. Right now, let's go to Brent in New York.
All right, Gary, thank you. No surprise about it. And for North Carolina, Michael Jordan, he was 6 of 6 in the second half, a total of 27 points. You might make a strong argument for the coach of North Carolina, Dean Smith, and those halftime adjustments. Matt Doherty goes out defensively, and he gives his guard with the injured left hand, Kenny Smith, a lot of help in getting the ball up across the timeline. The interviews are coming up when we continue our coverage on the road to the Final Four here on CBS in just a moment. Wildcats destroyed the Cougars a little bit earlier in the season, but can they do it a second time? Let's go back now to Charlotte, and Billy Packer and Gary Bender are standing by. North Carolina celebrating that 11-point victory over Temple. Let's ship it back to Gary.
Well, Dean Smith, you're one step closer to getting back to the Final Four.
Well, what we're trying very hard to do was to get to the Final 16, and now we have another goal to get to the Final 8. I thought we played very well the second half. Defensively, we were very active. Perkins was great defensively. Of course, Michael did the job offensively, and Kenny Smith. Not everybody woke up, I think, at halftime. We threw the ball away, and we just played better. Matt Doherty did a great job on Mr.
Stansbury was excellent. Dean, it's interesting, the first half you substituted a lot, and possibly think you could wear Temple down.
Well, we got a lot of tired signals. We used the signal, but I did want to use our people, but we weren't real sharp with all that in the first half. I thought we weren't active and played a little bit nervous, and I hope that's behind us.
What about this Richmond and Indiana game coming up?
Well, Indiana, I think, probably expected to play Auburn, and then what happens, now they got a good Richmond team that's won 2 NCAA games. I think Indiana will win, but I think it'll be a tough battle. Every game for the NCAA is going to be close. They're all going to be close.
Dean Smith, congratulations. They'll be playing the winner of that Richmond-Indiana game, as today they defeat the Temple Owls in Charlotte.